Awesome. All right. So yeah, welcome to Ryan once again to our monthly physio chat. Welcome to everyone else that's joined in. This is awesome that we've got a couple of people on here. So this one I wanted to make a little bit different. I was hoping we'd get a few more on, but that's fine. I want to make this one a little bit different. So we want to go straight into questions from you guys. So what we normally do, me and Ryan, is we jump on and we do a bit of a chat about some topics that we find are relevant toward the military and towards everyone pretty much. It's all one big kettle of fish when it comes down to it. But this one I'd like to just open up straight away to questions, and then we can sort of just string on from there. I've got a couple of questions in the group already that we can sort of go over. But before we get into them, Imogen, have you got anything hanging over your head? I know you had those problem with your wrists. How's that going at the moment?
It's actually really good. Like, I took a little bit of time just resting it, and I can now put pressure back on it, and it feels pretty much brand new, really.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's good to go. All right. So have you got any other questions at all that'd be good for Ryan?
No, not at the moment.
Yeah, all good. All right, Scott, Are you there, Scott? Because I know you had a question.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
So my question, I know you can't see me, but wireless headsets, perks of.
Go for it.
So my question is, now that I'm on my own, doing my own training, I'm kind of doing like a hypertrophy sort of training at the moment. I was wondering what suggestions you could give for managing the muscle soreness from that and how to keep training through that.
Okay. Well, this would be a good question for me and Brody. I think Brody from a performance perspective and me from an injuries perspective. I think from a physio perspective, I always like to talk about training load. If you've done something new and you haven't done it before, you'll generally get a hell of a lot more sore. So when you get sore, it's your body stressing itself basically. And after you do hypertrophy sessions and strength sessions, your body almost gets like tiny little microscopic tears through the muscle, and those small tears need good recovery to repair. And when they repair ideally stronger. And so what you need to do is make sure that you're doing your sets, but you also sets and repetitions, but you're also giving your body adequate rest. And if you're feeling consistently sore all the time, it could be that you're overloading particular types of muscles. Like, for example, if we're talking hypertrophy and you do a back session, and then you've got, say, back and chest, for example, and then you go straight into shoulders and biceps, and you do that twice in a week. Well, you've actually worked your biceps on the back session. From a lot of, if you're doing any rowing movements, you'll use your biceps, and then you go into an isolated bicep session. You're again using your biceps, go back into a back session, more biceps, back into another bicep. So you can see like overloading can become an issue, particularly with hypertrophy. So I would just say, to answer your question, I would say, have a look at your programming, which Brody can talk to you about right now, and then make sure you factor in adequate rest, because recovery is just as important as the performance training that you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you covered pretty much all of it there. But so Scott, with your program, how many weeks are you into it? Because he's doing it. So Scott's doing a different one to me at the moment. He's just been in the group for a little bit longer, and he's doing his own thing. But So how long you been on that program for? Like, you start that straight away?
This week's week 2 or week 3.
Okay. Yep. And are you finding? So with your question, is it okay to train with the DOMS, or is it you're feeling like you're getting too much DOMS through it?
No, I can still train. It's more, waking up in the morning and it's like, oh, this is going to be a fun time to get up. And it takes me a couple minutes to be able to like move my legs and stuff.
Yeah.
To the point where I can actually walk.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it comes to DOMS and stuff like that, what like Ryan was saying, the loading needs to be right. So you don't want to be so ridiculously sore that you don't want to train the next day, or you can't train the next day. Because not only like it can cause an injury because you've already got those little muscle tears and stuff there, but yeah, just that ability to train. Because if you went a little bit lighter and you were able to train for, you know, more days throughout the week, you're going to get more out of it. So you're always going to get some sort of DOMS when you change up your training, and especially because you've gone from my program into more of a hypertrophy type program. Yeah, you're always going to get those DOMS there in those first initial weeks or so. And just as long as, yeah, like I was saying before, just as long as it's not ridiculous when you're not, it's stopping you from training the next day or even the day after. Like if they're hanging around for, you know, 4 days, that's not what you want. You want them to be, you know, pretty good within 2 to 3 days, like 3 days maximum. You'd want to be feeling those DOMS. If it is going longer than that, then you're either doing too much to start with, or you're not giving them enough recovery for afterwards. And like Ryan was saying, you may be hitting them a bit too much, and it's carrying on those DOMS throughout the rest of the week. But yeah, as for training through them, sometimes, you know, a lot of my programming, the way you notice is a lot of them, it is a lot of whole body stuff. So sometimes you'll get DOMS, and it doesn't mean you can't train either. So it's not an indicator that, you know, you shouldn't train, just as long as it's not a ridiculous amount. So if it comes back around to maybe you've done a back session and then you come into doing your biceps a couple of days later, you've probably had enough sufficient rest, but there's just a bit of inflammation still remaining, and that little bit of soreness just still sticking around. So you're probably still good to do that session. So yeah, it's just like pretty much it's case by case, and depends on how much you're doing and how the actual program is set up too. Yeah, you agree with that, Ryan?
Yeah, 100%. The other thing I'd add, I just forgot about saying it before as well, is also having a look at other parts in your life as well. Because if you are overtraining, if you are getting DOMS, if you are consistently feeling sore, you could be to a degree overtraining, particularly if you've gone from not doing a whole lot. I mean, I'm not sure what your training program was before, Scott, but if you were not doing a whole lot and then you're going into a little bit of high intense sort of training, other factors can come into play too, like your body's stress levels as well actually have a part to play in the overtraining effect. And active recovery, if you are stressed, can be hard as well. And same with a poor diet. A poor diet is actually another thing that kind of aids in I guess, fast tracking the overtraining effect. I'm trying to find a different word there, but fast
tracking. That might be
a
key player for the, what I did last week. So yeah.
Yeah. So if it's the diet, then you're gonna have a look at that and you'll be like, okay, what am I eating? Am I getting enough protein in my diet? For the majority of us, we do. Like the majority of us do get enough protein. It's more having a look at how healthy the foods are we're eating. Are we eating enough vegetables? Are we getting all the vitamins and minerals that we need to actually help our body recover? And you probably find, man, you make a couple of changes. I'm not a nutritionist, but you make a couple of changes to your diet, and these DOMS improve as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because nutrition's the most underutilized. I was actually just talking about this before. Nutrition is pretty much the most underutilized drug in the world. So every time you put food into your mouth, if you're thinking of that food as an actual value rather than the taste and whatever else you get out of that food, if you're thinking of the value, you know, the calorie content, the protein, all that type of stuff, and also the macro and micronutrients, everything in one, and you're thinking of that side of things rather than the taste and that, you're going to get more out of your nutrition. So you're going to be looking for more nutritious stuff, and with all of that stuff that the extra nutrients that you're getting, it's going to reduce the inflammation, because the bad diet, highly processed, high sugar, high fat, all that type of stuff, it creates a lot of inflammation itself within your body, as well as the stress, like Ryan was talking. Everything like that creates a lot of inflammation, and if you're doing that and then going to the gym and creating more inflammation and more damage, it's gonna take longer to recover. And yeah, and I have gone through those recovery sessions too with you, Scott. So they're really important. Like if you have a rest day programmed in that actual program, and not always doing nothing going to be. Hang on a sec, someone's making a lot of noise there. I don't know where that's come from, but yeah, doing nothing is not always going to be the best thing to do as well. So, and even with the stress side of things, so you could be really stressed, and then you create some sort of really good recovery session, and you go into the gym not to increase your fitness or anything like that. You go into the gym to actually recover, and they are really, really handy. And for the DOMS side of things too, the DOMS are really good. Like those types of sessions are really good for DOMS because they create a lot of blood flow and just help you repair a lot quicker. And we've gone over that in one of my other talks with you. So yeah, I won't bother actually going into the actual specifics of it, but yeah, they are super, super handy.
Yep.
All right, awesome.
Thank you.
So yeah, pretty big answer there for you, Scott. But did that sort of touch at least on what you wanted?
Yeah, that was pretty much exactly what I needed. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so we've got Kira on here. We haven't heard you speak yet. Are you still on there? No, so we're just hanging around and listening in or something. All right, so we've got another question on here, Ryan. I'm just going to jump into the group here. Okay, so the other question was about shin splints. Okay. Finding it here. Okay. So yeah, it's just one of the ladies. She's still the person made a comment on one of your other posts about shin splints and how to continue working once they set in. And that might be a good topic to go over. So it is, because especially Ryan. Hang on a sec. Where that's coming through. Mute everyone. All right, there we go. Yeah, Ryan, have you seen a lot of shin splints come through in the cold? Is that a thing where it increases at all?
I've seen them. It depends on, like for me, for where I'm at now and what I'm doing, I don't see them. I see a little bit with, I'm a physio for a rugby team up here. I see a little bit for rugby.
Yeah.
I see not a lot in the clinic, to be honest, because of the fact most people up here are office workers, but definitely in the cold, because a lot of the muscles, if you don't do an adequate warm-up, they won't be nice and warm and primed and ready for competition. You can, or training, or even in the military as well. So you kind of do tend to see a few more of those types of injuries in winter for sure. But yeah, they are, I guess the best thing I always say, and I think we did another talk on this, Broads, earlier, is to make sure that you, even for people that don't have shin splints currently, that you're really actively trying to prevent these from happening by managing your load, by doing an adequate warm-up, and by making sure you have appropriate footwear. If you do get shin splints, the best thing that you can do is one, manage your load. So the whole that question's more like, can we continue? Like, how do we keep going? How do we keep going? Shin splints can be managed by, if you have good footwear, if you tape up your feet, and I think we did on a previous chat that the guys might have access to as well. I actually shared my screen and showed a low dye foot tape that's really, really good for improving the arch in your feet, which then helps with your stability when you're walking and running if you have shin splints. So you guys can check that out. If you can't find it, just go on YouTube, type in low dye taping, low, and then space DYE taping, and then that will give you exactly how to do that taping. It basically keeps your arch nice and held up, which prevents you from collapsing and putting all your pressure through your tibia bone. And your tibia bone is the bone that gets really sore with the shin splints. So low diataping to help manage your pain a little bit. It's not going to take it away completely, but it's going to manage it a little bit. Doing an adequate warm-up. And if you want to do an adequate, we may have talked about that, but I actually have a podcast that I talk about exactly what to include in an effective warm-up. An effective warm-up should sort of go for 10 to 15 minutes, ideally, if you have time. And you should go through hip activation exercises to open up your hips and get moving, dynamic stretches, and what's called movement integration, or actually doing exercises that actually mimic whatever you're doing. So if you're running, you're doing running warm-ups. If you're walking, you can still do walking-based warm-ups and things like that. So I'd say that's a big one as well. And then just making sure that you're actively rolling through your tibialis anterior, which is a muscle in front of your leg. And we did talk about, and I actually showed all the guys how to do that in a previous chat that me and Broads had as well. They'd be the big ones for me. And then just to mention that if you do try and keep going, shin splints can get worse and worse and worse. So you might not be able to stop completely because it's the military and you need to keep going. But if you can manage your load, do less than you were doing when it was hurting quite a lot, then that's going to put you in the right step to healing your body.
Yeah, for sure. And I've been going over this. I've been finding not only the coldness, but due to people doing a lot of training at home as well because of the COVID and everything that's going on, they're doing a lot more running-based stuff. And yeah, it is coming through a little bit more with shin pains. But I saw a comment a couple of days ago about not training because you have shin splints. And the easiest way to think about training, so this is like I'm not talking like rehabbing or anything at the moment, that is integrated with it. But when it comes to actually training with shin splints, there are so many things you can still do when you've got shin splints. You just got to think you can't load them up like Ryan was saying. You got to give them time to heal, because once they grab hold of you, they've got you, and you haven't got much choice other than to rest. So there's so many low impact type things, especially if you're going to a gym, and you think of what you want to train. So if you normally go out for a long distance run or whatever, you're just training aerobic base type stuff. So you can do exactly the same thing on a rower. You can do it on a cross trainer. You can do it anything like that. And you can even do it in circuit based stuff if you like doing body weight type stuff, just low threshold type stuff for a long period. There's so many things that you can still work on while you've got shin splints too. Like I've just proven it with one of my girls. She was at level 4 on the beep test. She got sick initially. Ended up with glandular fever, so she had to knock her training back a month. And then she started, and then she got shin splints. So we completely cut out all of her running, and just done everything that I was just talking about. Just trained those energy systems, still trained the muscular endurance, all that type of stuff. And her shins, and we started just putting in little bits of skipping and things like that. And her shins have, completely gone good. And then redid a beep test, and now she's got level 8, like 8 point something. So still able to train that energy system and improve it. Not doing that.
Yeah, 100%. And then one other thing that I just mentioned, I just thought of while you were talking then, was when you do get back to running, definitely having a look at your running style as well. One thing that I do see quite a lot, we do running assessments in the clinic, and one thing I see quite a lot is people overstriding. So when you overstride, and if your foot is hitting the ground in front of your body when you stride out, then it's like, to quote Albert Einstein, for every action is equal opposite reaction. So to quote Newton. So with that particular thing, if you put your body ahead of you, the ground reaction force is actually pushing back into your body instead of pushing ahead of you. So if you can imagine, every time you take a step, you're losing energy because it's pushing back into you and you have to take the next step. The other thing that's happening, there's a hell of a lot more load going straight through your tibia bone as well. So one thing I always say as well, like, is to have a look at next time you're running and just to have a look and make sure that you're not trying to stride too far. And if you are, take smaller steps. You don't have to stride out too far. And sometimes that's enough as well to even dissipate these shin splints as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's a massive one. Yeah, technique in the running is huge. And yeah, you can lower that impact straight away just by changing the way you run. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure we were talking about the shin splints one. That was the one that I forgot to record until halfway through.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
So,
yeah.
And it'd probably be good in this one, since we're talking about it already, like some sort of, I know you've touched on it a little bit, but just some like a bit of an overview of what's happening with the shins, and a couple of, rehab exercises that or even prehab stuff as well, stuff that they can do to prevent getting it in the first place.
Yeah, I don't have access to any of the rehab stuff tonight. That's okay. I can kind of talk through it anyway. But
yeah.
It's shin splints. It's also called medial tibial stress syndrome, and it's your tibia bone. So it's your shin. Your tibia bone is it's your shin bone. It's on the inside. That's why they're called medial, or to the middle, to the inside. And essentially, what happens is when we come down and we put a lot of force through the tibia, we literally are making little tiny microscopic fractures, like really, really small fractures through the actual tibia bone. And these actually can get worse and worse over time. So they're not it's not an injury like a tendon injury, for example. You get Achilles tendon, you'll go for a run, it'll feel crappy at the start, and then it'll start getting better as you run. And then if you run for long enough, it might start getting really crappy at the end. But essentially that first little part, it feels sore, and then it's okay. With shin splints, if you've got shin splints and you run, and it'll be sore at the start like a tendon, but then it'll just keep getting more sore and more sore as you run, because essentially it's your bone. It's not a tendon, it's not a muscle, it's your bone that's the issue. So you really need to kind of manage that well, because the bony injuries can get quite sore. So it's important to really manage it as you go. I would always say look at your shoes as well. Have a look at your shoes. Make sure if you've had your shoes for longer than, depending on how much you run, from longer than 6 months if you run a lot, or longer than a year if you don't run as much, then it's probably time to get a new set of shoes as well. If you know you've got really flat feet, that can be a cause of shin splints as well, because when we've got flat feet, as we go to walk, we walk on the outside of our foot at the start, and then as we come through on our walk, we actually move to the inside. So we go from what's called supination on the outside to pronation. And usually what should happen is our arch should stay nice and firm, and it helps keep our good foot posture. But what can happen if you've got flat feet, generally what happens, if it's almost like you're slapping down a plank of wood, the arch doesn't support you, it collapses as you go through. And as it collapses, there's far more impact running up through the body, in particular in your bone. So that's another thing to look out for. If you've got really flat feet, that might be something to go talk to someone like a podiatrist for, who could have a look and prescribe you some orthotics if you need it. So that's another big thing as well. Rehab essentially is trying to get your body as stable as you can. So some really good exercises for, I guess, foot health and getting good stability. Like a really simple one to do. You guys could try it now if you wanted to, but just standing on a single leg with your eyes closed. So when you do that, standing on a single leg with your eyes closed, essentially your body can't use your vision as a point of reference. And so all of your stabilizer muscles intrinsically in your foot, but also up through your calf muscles and a few of the muscles on the outside, they actually have to makes tiny little adjustments and stuff. So it's a really good way to start as well, doing some stability work. And then just exercises that challenge you on a single leg, really, really important. So you can find so many of them over the internet, and it's unfortunate I don't have all the gear with me tonight, but definitely like single leg deadlift, single leg squat, Pallof press on a single leg. These are just all exercises that you can look up if you like. They're all exercises that help keep you more stable. And if you're more stable, you're not as open to shin splints as an injury as well.
Yeah, for sure. That stability, and we've gone over how important that is in so many times. It just pops up every time that stability in the hips is just huge. It plays a role with so many different things, and it streams like the whole way around your body. All right, so yeah, awesome. Well, that's about it. We haven't really got any other questions, unless, have you guys on there got anything else that you just want to go over, clear up? Scott, Imogen, Kira, if you got anything, Kira, then just write it in the chat there. That's all good. So you got anything coming up in the future at all, Ryan? Like any competitions? I know you love your comps. You got anything like that coming up?
No, I haven't. I guess everything's sort of on hold at the moment, isn't it? So I'm kind of just chilling out. Scott's got a question.
Yeah. I'll unmute him. Yep, go for it, Scott.
Hello. Okay. How, as a physio, how often would you recommend someone come in to get like massage and stuff out as like a preventative measure of injury and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think ideally, like, it's good to see someone in an ideal world once a month, but it's not just for massage and manipulation. If you go into a chiropractor and releases, it's more like rehab programming is really important too. And I am putting my physio hat on when I say this, but if you're going to someone who is legitimately just massaging you or manipulating you, and they're a health professional, like excluding massage therapists, they're not giving you the full plan that will help improve your physical health. So I think in order to improve physical health, I think we do massage and we do manipulation in order to free up the body so it can do the exercises that we then give you easier and more effectively. And they're the reasons that I use massage and I use manipulation in my services. But the big thing that's going to get you better full time and it's going to improve keeping you healthy is daily practice. Daily practice is warming up effectively, doing prehab or working on what's your Achilles heel. Like everybody has Achilles heels, like myself, my right shoulder, my left Achilles, what else? My left glute. You'd be able to find parts of your body where you do have deficiencies and it isn't working as optimally as it could be. And I think like my whole passion is trying to show people that, to take people from getting the releases to definitely still getting them because they're awesome. You feel great after, but getting in and doing all those things to ensure that you have a better moving body. Because you have a better moving body, you can do more things, you perform better, you age better, and your chance of getting injured is far reduced as well. And that's kind of, my big passion. It's a good question. I like the question.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
Awesome. And to back onto that, I would like you have a bit of a chat about the movement screening that you do, because I know you did it for Josh, one of my clients, and it's really good to see that feedback, and that's so personalized to him, and he is able to correct certain things before they even become an issue. So there's some things that you've said to him, and he didn't even realize, and that you don't know whether it's that power of suggestion, but then he's just like, oh wow, that is tight, that one. So I'd need to do these exercises to fix it up before it even becomes a problem. So have a bit of a talk about those movement screens.
So the movement screen is something that we started doing, and like, as I was just saying, Scott, I'm super passionate about preventative health. Like, that's the whole reason I started a podcast as well. Like, I just want to learn more about that, because I think we all take so many like drugs, and ingrained in our society, we're so curative all the time. Something isn't working right. Let's take something to cure it. Let's take a pill if we've got heart disease. Let's wait till we're injured for physiotherapy to have an issue. Let's wait till we've got a dietary issue to see a dietitian. Like, I think if we can shift that as a society and look more towards preventative health, that's the way to go, because you're stopping things before they happen, which is super important. And that's why I've started doing this movement screen, is because what we essentially do is we just take a global full body picture through different tests that we do of your physical health. So we usually look at mobility. So how well can you move all the joints in your body, your shoulder, your neck, your upper back, your lower back, your hips, your knees, and your ankles. And we kind of use like normative data that has been kind of tabulated with lots and lots of different people. And we can say from that, well, one, is one of your sides a little bit tighter than the other? And two, how does that fare up to the rest of the population, which is a pretty cool thing to do, because you can see where you're at. Kind of like the beep test, right? You do the beep test, you can see yourself improve with Broads when he does it, but you can also see how you fare normatively with the rest of the population. So that's cool. I always like to look at that. The other thing we look at is strength as well. So we're in the process of getting it at the moment, but we're going to have next month handheld strength dynamometry. So essentially, I can look at individual muscles, and using this force sort of mini force plate technology is what I call it. You can actually have a look and see if there's a deficit or a difference between your glutes or your rotator cuff in your shoulders, which help with stability of your shoulders. So that's a really cool thing too. And then the final thing we look at is motor control, or how you facilitate your movement. So we look for that one. You look at more complex movements. So we won't just look at an individual muscle and say, oh, it can contract and it contracts better than the other one. We'll look at how you do a single leg squat. We'll look at how you do shoulder movements in the shoulder blade, and we'll see if there's any abnormalities of that. And that one there is probably the only subjective sort of assessment we do. It's more a physio looking at the quality of the movement and trying to see which muscles are kind of switching on and which aren't, and kind of seeing if it is in the right pattern. So with those sort of three things that you do there, it kind of gives you a good global picture of the health of all your joints, the strength, and how you function. And from there, you can kind of, we tailor a structured exercise program, and the exercise program is it's just more rehab really. So rehabilitative exercises that help improve whatever deficits you might have in the body. So yeah, it's a cool program, and I usually do it at the start, and then I do it at the 6-week mark in order to track your change and see that you're going in the right direction. But the key thing is the consistency with the rehab, which Josh has been pretty good with. But yeah, getting in and doing the rehab, and you will find that over time you get a little bit more mobile, you get a little bit stronger, and you start moving better as well, which is super important. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, it'd be pretty cool to just get that, and because you can be going to the gym your whole life and you have no idea you wonder why you're always getting a sore shoulder on your right hand side, or your knee's been getting sore the whole time, and then you find out your glutes not even switching on at all on that side. Then you need to work it, and you'll end up like heaps stronger, performing heaps better. Because if you're really strong on one side and really weak on the other, you're going to compensate. And then it's like a lot of people, when they do their strength training as well, is they continue training the strong leg first and continue trying to progress that one while the other one's still lacking, and try to keep it up. But yeah, the way I always prescribe things is start with your weak leg, and then do whatever you can with the weak leg with your strong leg. because as soon as you bring that weak leg up and you sort of make them a little bit more even, you're going to end up stronger anyway. Like if you keep adding to that evenness, then it's just going to make things worse and you end up hurting yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the body is very good at compensating. So a lot of the time you won't know, like even as a physio, like I can go get a treatment with one of the other guys and they'll tell me something that I really wasn't realizing with my own body. So it's cool. You kind of get that little bit of extra feedback from that. And I think it's a cool thing to kind of know about your body.
Yeah, that's definitely, and it'd be super handy. So where do you do that at? What location do you do that?
I do that. Here's the thing. I know with this group, I have done a lot of telehealth with this group, with your guys. Okay. This one would be definitely one that would need to be done in person, just with the strength staff and a few of the other things and a few of the tests. So I do it face to face, and it's in Bondi Junction where my clinic is, and you can do that kind of anytime. They generally go for about an hour, so it's about an hour consult in the city.
Yeah, it's awesome. And one of the boys drove up from Shoalhaven, I think it was, and he went there. So, it's good. But he was raving about it, how good it was. So it's definitely a really handy thing, and I'm definitely going to come down and do it at some point. I'm keen as.
Friday afternoon, we can have a beer after, bros.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, well, bit too big of a. Scott is down south in Melbourne. I'd be putting you in one of those booths, Scott, and I just have the fake arms. I'd just be moving the arms to do my things. Yeah. It's crazy the times what we're going through. All right. Well, is there anything that you want to finish up with at all, Ryan? You got anything that you think the guys would be handy to know or anything like that? Because I was hoping to get a few more on here, but that's fine. We still got it through a few questions and a few topics, so
that's fine. I think we covered a lot today, and for anyone else that maybe listens to the recording, if you do have any questions, you can post it on the group, on Brody's group, or you can reach out and private message me after, and we can have a chat about it. If anyone wants to do an online telehealth session, if you do have an existing injury, we can do that as well. Or if you've got you want some more information about the movement screen, you can contact me. We can have a chat about that too. Yeah, awesome. Well, as always, I'll get you to tell everyone where they can find you so they can follow you on Instagram, Facebook, all that type of stuff. Yeah, so my business is In Vigor Health, and you can find that on Facebook, Instagram. The website's www.invigorhealth.com.au, and they'll have all the information you need on there. I run a podcast called the Fit After 35 Project, which is basically like a preventative health podcast where we speak to all different health professionals and sort of everyday heroes and talk about what things can help us age better, more gracefully, and reduce our chance of injury and keep us performing at the high level that we did when we were just bashing ourselves in our 20s, but do it in a safe way. So, if you want to find that as well, probably best to just look on Instagram, the Fit After 35 Project, and have a listen. Tell me what you think. Yeah, there's some really good stuff on there. Been seeing it pop up, and it's good info. And it's good that you're putting it out there, for anyone to listen to, and you can get so much value out of that stuff. You just gotta it's all out there for free as well. So it's just, super handy to have it there. All right. Well, thanks again for your time. These are awesome. They're really good for the guys to get that extra info in here. So next time we run one, make sure you jump on live. It's really good to get you on here, and so we can actually go back and forth with a few questions and make sure we are actually answering them, to the full extent, rather than you walking off with more questions. But like Ryan said, if you've got any questions at all, this will be posted up in Facebook, so just leave a comment, and we'll be sure to get back to you. All right. Thanks again, Ryan. Thanks for everyone turning up. And thanks for having me, bros. And Good luck to anyone that's doing any military courses coming up, and I'll speak to you next month, mate.
Cheers, mate. Catch you later.